Everyone says Union Pacific's Big Boy is the biggest steam locomotive ever built. But hidden in the official records and forgotten blueprints is a problem with that claim. A problem so fundamental that it unravels nearly everything you thought you knew about railroading's giant. If Big Boy is not the biggest, what did we miss? And why do so many still get it wrong? The real story is far more complicated, and it all begins with the reason this machine was built. In the late 1930s, Union Pacific faced a mountain problem that numbers alone could not solve. Freight tonnage was rising fast across the high country between Ogden and Green River, but the Wasatch Range stood in the way. Eastbound trains climbing grades of 1.14% to 1.55% stalled, bottlenecked by the limits of existing engines. Helpers had to be added at the base and cut off at the summit, costing precious time and tying up crews. Dispatchers logged delays, yardmasters grumbled, and every lost hour meant lost revenue. Inside Union Pacific's mechanical department, Otto Jabelmann and his team studied the memos piling up from the field. The answer, they decided, was not another batch of Challengers or a heavier mallet, but something altogether new. An engine that could take a 3,600-ton train over the Wasatch in one go, no helpers, no fuss. The American Locomotive Company, ALCO, joined the effort. Letters and blueprints flew back and forth, debating axle loads, firebox size, and how much steel could be bent to fit the rails without breaking them. By late 1940, the final design was set. A 4884 articulated steam locomotive, built to the absolute limits of what Union Pacific's tracks and bridges could support. 25 of these giants were ordered, each one a direct response to the mountain itself, a machine shaped by the demands of grade, tonnage, and time. Every claim about the world's biggest locomotive comes down to numbers. But which numbers matter most? 4 measurements define the contest: length, weight, horsepower, and tractive effort. Each tells a different story about size and strength. Start with length. The Union Pacific Big Boy, from its pilot at the front to the last coupler on its tender, stretches 132 feet 10 inches. That is longer than a blue whale, longer than some city buses, end to end. But size is not just about what you see on the rails. Weight is split into 2 parts: the engine alone, and the engine plus its tender, the vast car behind that carries water and coal. Big Boy's engine tips the scales at 772,250 pounds. Add the tender, loaded to capacity, and the total climbs to 1,208,750 pounds. Some comparisons use only the engine, others use the full combined weight. Tender size can make a locomotive seem heavier than it truly is. Horsepower measures how much work a locomotive can do at speed. In 1943, official dynamometer tests put Big Boy's drawbar horsepower at 6,300 horsepower, power delivered to the train at 41 miles per hour. That is the figure that appears in builders' cards and railroad records. Tractive effort is measured in pounds of force, and it is the locomotive's raw pulling strength from a standstill. For Big Boy, that number is 135,375 pounds. This figure reflects the force at the first turn of the wheels, the moment when thousands of tons must begin to move. These 4 metrics, length, weight, horsepower, and tractive effort, form the yardstick by which every giant is measured. With Big Boy's own numbers set, the field is ready for a true comparison. Beyond the Big Boy's imposing frame, other locomotives quietly surpassed its dimensions in ways that challenge the legend. The Canadian National M1 carried an engine weight of 871,800 pounds, almost 100,000 more than Big Boy's own engine. Norfolk and Western's experimental John Henry, the steam turbine TE1 built in 1954, stretched to 161 feet from coupler to coupler, dwarfing even the Big Boy's 132 feet. Its combined engine and tender mass reached 881,000 pounds, a figure that looms large on any scale. The Pennsylvania Railroad S1, a streamlined behemoth from 1939, measured 140 feet in length, its Art Deco shell gliding over rails with a presence that filled entire station platforms. These were not just paper giants. Each carried physical receipts, blueprints, weight tickets, builder's cards that document their size, yet their stories are often left out of museum placards and railfan lore. The myth of mass lingers, but the numbers tell a different story. Big Boy was not alone at the top, and by some measures, it was not the heaviest or the longest. Numbers alone do not crown a champion. On the test track, horsepower tells its own story, and here the Big Boy met its match and more. In 1941, the Pennsylvania Railroad's S1 thundered past 7,000 horsepower at 100 miles per hour, its performance logged minute by minute in the Altoona dynamometer car. The sheer force of that reading, captured in official charts, outpaced anything Union Pacific's records could show. Chesapeake and Ohio's Allegheny, a 2666 built for relentless mountain grades, delivered over 6,500 drawbar horsepower in builders' trials. Its dynamometer sheets stand as proof. Even the Western Maryland Challengers, though their 6,300 horsepower figure remains an estimate without surviving test reports, were credited by crews and rail riders with matching or exceeding Big Boy's output in daily service. These were not just paper numbers. Each locomotive was a rolling laboratory, pushing steel and steam to their limits, and when the data came in, it was clear. Horsepower heavyweights wore many names, and the Big Boy was not alone at the top. Pulling force set another benchmark, and here the Big Boy found itself crowded by giants with even greater muscle. Baldwin's triplex locomotives for the Erie and Virginian railroads pushed the boundaries of tractive effort to the limit. The Erie Triplex, delivered in 1914, carried a builder's rating of 160,000 pounds of force, an astonishing number published in technical journals of the day. The Virginian XA Triplex, built in 1916, raised that figure to 176,600 pounds of force, the highest theoretical tractive effort ever cataloged for a North American steam locomotive. These machines, with 3 sets of driving wheels, were designed to wrench the heaviest coal trains from a dead stop, their blueprints promising power that dwarfed even the Big Boy's 135,375 pounds. But reality proved less heroic. Complex steam distribution and poor adhesion meant their full strength was rarely seen outside the builder's shop. Even so, by the numbers, these triplexes and the experimental John Henry turbine stand as tractive effort champions. Each one is a reminder that in the contest for biggest brute force alone could rewrite the record books. Union Pacific's own words helped seal the Big Boy's place in history. From the first press releases in the 1940s, the company called it the world's largest steam locomotive, a phrase that echoed through employee magazines, post-war advertisements, and glossy brochures. Museum displays picked up the language, printing it on placards and banners that greeted generations of visitors. Even today, the phrase appears in official press kits and on the side of excursion cars. Over time, repetition turned a marketing boast into common knowledge. Survivorship played its part as well. While Big Boy number 4014 rolls across the West, its rivals, the Canadian National M1, the Pennsylvania Railroad S1, the triplex locomotives exist only in black and white photographs and fragments of blueprints. Their absence from museum halls and mainline rails makes them easy to overlook. The Big Boy's immense silhouette, paired with its unmatched presence on display and in motion, became the reference point for biggest. As a result, the myth endured, reinforced by every article, every railfan website, and every display case that chose spectacle over specification. In 2014, Union Pacific's steam team gathered in the California sun to attempt what many thought impossible. Big Boy number 4014, silent for decades at the Rail Giants Museum, was coaxed from its display track and prepared for a journey back to life. Specialized crews cleared obstacles, reinforced bridges, and moved the 1.2 million pound giant across hundreds of miles to Cheyenne, Wyoming. The move itself was a feat, requiring careful planning, heavy haul equipment, and constant vigilance over every curve and crossing. Once in the Cheyenne shops, the real work began. Over 5 years, machinists, welders, and volunteers faced down cracked frames, worn cylinders, and the challenge of sourcing parts for a locomotive last built in 1944. Restoration logs filled with setbacks and breakthroughs, each entry a testament to skill and persistence. In May 2019, steam filled the air above Cheyenne as number 4014 came to life, rolling under its own power for the first time in nearly 6 decades. Crowds lined the tracks, witnessing the return of the largest operational steam locomotive on Earth, a living monument to preservation and proof that legends can be rebuilt, not just remembered. In an age where online myths shape our sense of history, even giants stand on shaky ground. The truth behind these machines still evolves as new records surface. What we choose to believe today becomes tomorrow's legacy. So ask, measure, and always look twice. Share your thoughts below.